The feud between Republican Governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, and Disney is intensifying. I call it DeSantis versus Disney. Florida's state Senate and House voted this week to dissolve the 1967 deal between the state and Walt Disney that allows the company to act with the same authority and responsibility as a county government. The legislation now goes to the desk of Governor Ron DeSantis, who is expected to sign it into law. And this vote on Disney took place during a special session that was originally intended to address congressional redistricting. On that front, GOP state senators who are in the majority in Florida voted to support a new congressional map proposed by the governor that would give his party a big edge in future elections. Democrats and other critics are calling DeSantis' proposed map overtly racist, as it would likely reduce the number of districts where black voters are a plurality. And joining me now is NBC News national political reporter and all-around expert in everything Florida politics, Mark Caputo. Mark, you said you were surprised by this DeSantis move to escalate his feud with Disney. What is the background on this law? What do we need to know about this Disney versus DeSantis brouhaha?
Well, the brouhaha is kind of about the exercise of power. Once Disney crossed Ron DeSantis over the parental rights bill, the leader of Disney, the CEO, called it "Don't Say Gay," and that drove DeSantis crazy because he says it doesn't say gay in the legislation and the like, and that's an unfair smear. And so DeSantis started targeting Disney rhetorically. Disney said, you know what, that's it. We're not going to be contributing to folks anymore, to lawmakers anymore. We're going to pause donations. And then the next thing you know, right before the special session starts, actually the day it starts, DeSantis expands the call to the legislative session to take up this issue of striking or eliminating what's called the Reedy Creek Improvement District. Now, just passed in the building behind me in the Florida House, so it's on its way to the governor. But the passage of it actually was kind of, without much fanfare, because black lawmakers and their Democratic colleagues shut down the legislative session over the redistricting maps. They were getting steamrolled so badly that a number of lawmakers took to the center of the House floor. They didn't sit down. They weren't recognized to stand. They held a protest. The Republican-led legislature was unable to control them. They left. Democrats occupied the floor for a period of time. And then the Republicans came back on the floor, and as Democrats were chanting, when black votes are under attack, what do? Stand up, fight back. House Speaker Chris Sprowls gavelled everyone back into session. Republicans voted, steamrolled them on the redistricting maps, steamrolled them on the Disney vote. That was all done and wrapped up with a pretty dramatic flourish at first, and after that big bang, they kind of closed the session with a whimper.
And it feels like many of these battles here are part of the culture wars debate. I mean, Ron DeSantis has not found an entry point of the culture war that he does not want to engage in, right? He wants to engage on every single aspect of this, banning math textbooks, critical race theory, don't say gay. Talk about Ron DeSantis and how he's playing into a certain form of Trumpism, if you will, and in the context of these culture war debates, because it feels like Donald Trump's ideas are turning into policy action.
Well, DeSantis is more disciplined than Trump, and he picks his battles a little more judiciously. He's not on Twitter going crazy. And he's hitting that sweet spot for a politician where everything that DeSantis proposes that's controversial inflames the left, delights the right, attracts media attention, and that helps build his name ID and his national profile, and that brings him more in the way of campaign contributions. He's got about $100 million raised just for his reelection. He's probably not going to be able to spend that all by November, which is one of the reasons some of Trump's folks are looking at DeSantis in somewhat of a suspicious way, thinking, my God, this guy's approval ratings are very good. In the polls, he's number 2 to Trump as far as who Republicans want to see as a presidential candidate in 2024. Maybe DeSantis can bank some of this money, roll it over into a federal super PAC, and turn himself into a federal or a national juggernaut. Right now, DeSantis is not there. But the reality is, as I said, he's kind of hit that sweet spot for a politician who is kind of doing everything that his base loves, his opponents hate, and that produces campaign gold.
It's an important analysis. One of the questions, though, I have is, in the fight of Disney versus DeSantis, whether or not he's over his skis in any way. I mean, I'll defer to your expertise because this bill heads to his desk and will likely be signed. So if Disney's special status is actually revoked, What strain does that have on Florida residents? And how does that impact the fundraising you talked about? Is that going to hurt not just him, but other Republicans potentially?
Well, one thing I want to do with Ron DeSantis is get out of the predictions game. If you would have, in fact, I said this on Morning Joe a few weeks ago, like they're not going to ban the Reedy Creek Improvement District. Now here I am in the shadow of the state capitol where they voted to do just that. Now, that said, the law doesn't ban it instantly. It dissolves it in 13 months on June 1st of 2023. That gives lawmakers a lot of time to study, hey, do we really want to do this? And it also gives Disney a lot of time to grovel to make sure lawmakers don't do it, or to try to influence it in a more positive direction for them. Now, it's really unclear what this is going to do. The reality is there's at least $1 billion in debt service obligations that, if this district disappears, could be borne by local taxpayers. However, Disney has a lot of a tax base that perhaps can be taxed at a higher rate, or that the local governments can get more money out of. So it's really unclear. As to whether DeSantis is over his skis or not, time will tell. But right now, when you look at polling, when you look at money, and when you look at the amount of media attention he's commanding, he's so far skiing rather freely.
I like that. He's skiing freely. Well, we'll have you back because I want to continue to talk about this particular battle between Disney and DeSantis. I've been a little obsessed with it. Mark Caputo, thank you so much for being here and helpful analysis. It looks lovely where you are. I want to go where the palm trees are. Please stay safe. Hi, I'm Zerlina Maxwell. Thanks for checking out our channel on YouTube. You can see more from Zerlina by clicking any of the videos on this screen, and make sure you subscribe below to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. Thanks for watching.